Hello, Cosmic Witches. Maggie here, and welcome to Manifesting in June. We're going to be sharing some episodes from our personal podcasts, one per week, to help you get into the energy of manifesting, and then we'll be right back on track for July with brand new episodes for you. We needed a little break. All of our lives got really crazy. You can hear about that in our last episode that we posted. So we decided to share some of our older content, but I promise it's just as good. And today I'm bringing you my manifestation formula that I have used so much. It's tried and true. Of course, make it your own, but here's a little episode from my podcast, The Goddess Journals. I'll put the link down below if you want to check out more episodes, if you're missing us, if you want some more spiritual content. But I hope you enjoy it, and happy Manifestation June. Hey Cosmic Witches, Divine Gossip Girls here, your one and only source into the spiritual happenings of the cosmos.
Ever wonder what this month's energy will have in store for you? What the planets and stars are even up to? Or if the universe can just help you catch a break already?
Well, lucky you, because we have all the spiritual secrets to tell. Get ready to sip on your weekly dose of divine tea.
Okay, so let's start with the classic way to introduce a new subject, which is the definition of the word manifest. I know this is cheesy and overdone, always, the definition, according to Webster Dictionary, of manifest is. But in this case, I actually think it's really interesting because manifesting has become such a buzzword in not only the spiritual world, but just like in the world in general. It has literally just become a word casually in conversation. Do you know how many times I've been watching a video or been talking to people who aren't super spiritual or aren't super into self-development, and just because they want something, they're like, okay, let's manifest it, or I'm manifesting this, even though they're not actually manifesting. It's just become a very colloquial term. It's become a very popularized way to just talk about calling in something you want. Is almost become wishing for something, right? The word manifest and wish in everyday conversation almost go hand in hand now. So I thought it would just be important to get back to the roots of the word, back to what it really means, and back to its energy before I go on to explain how I manifest and how it actually works. So that being said, the definition of manifest, it has a lot of different definitions, but I want to look at the first two that fall under the verb. So to manifest. The first is show by one's action or appearance, or demonstrate. And then the second is to be evidence of or prove, which I think is really, really important and so fascinating. Because so many people, when they hear about manifesting, or their perceived notion of what manifesting is, oh, I just think about it and it'll come. Like, I just sit here and I think about how I want $1 million. And then $1 million will just fall into my lap. And that's why manifestation gets a bad rap, because everyone's like, you can't just think something into existence. I mean, on some level you can, but I understand why this is confusing, because I can sit here and think about how I want $1 million all day, but unless I take the action to prove to myself and to the universe that I can have this thing, nothing's going to change. So the idea that the definition of manifest is to show by one's actions or appearance and to be the evidence of is really key and important, because it shows that there is action in manifestation. I don't think you can manifest without this action step. So I thought it was really important to just start off by saying manifestation isn't about just thinking. It's not even just about mindset. There's a lot of mindset work within manifestation, but there's equally as much physical action and also a spiritual side of trust and surrender. Now that we've got that, I kind of want to talk about my definition of manifestation. So for me, manifestation is a combination of mindset work, action, and some sort of spirituality. For me, it's universal connection, but for someone else, it could be working with a different higher power, a god, but it's working with some sort of higher power. And by putting all these three things together and being very intentional about what you're doing, you can create your own reality. You can call into your reality what you want, basically, what you desire. It's not necessarily easy. Sometimes it can feel easy once you're used to it, and if the desire isn't too much work to call in, if it's something you can really see fitting into your life already, sometimes it takes a while, but that's where this aspect of trust comes in. But basically, it's working with some sort of higher power to co-create your reality into whatever it is that you want, which sounds pretty nice. I don't know about you. And to those who say that it's crap, that it's not real, well, I have manifested plenty into my life. And if this is all a big placebo effect, I don't really care. Because it's the best placebo effect of my life. It is working for me. I am calling in so much that I want in life. So really, I don't really care if you don't think it works, because I'm not the one missing out. So the next thing I really want to touch on before we head into my 5-step process here, that you are always manifesting. You are always manifesting. And I'm not saying this to scare you, like, oh, you better start picking it up. You're manifesting all these bad things into your life. Like, that's not true. But you are always manifesting to stay the same, to stay where you are if you're not taking action forwards. Like, you are always manifesting, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in manifestation in a spiritual way or not, you are always manifesting. Because like I said, manifesting is to show a quality or feeling by one's actions or appearance. So the way that you are acting right now and the way that you are choosing to appear to the world right now is a manifestation of who you believe you are and what you want to be doing in life. So right now, you are manifesting being the person that you are day to day. Every action that you take is a manifestation. When you think of this spiritual idea of thinking things into your reality, that is more of a manifestation practice. That's taking this passive thing that you are always doing and deciding, I'm going to make this work for me. I am going to turn this energy around so that I can call in what I want. I can become who I truly want to be. So you can leave this podcast and go about your life and not do anything that I tell you to do, and you'll still be manifesting. It's just you'll be manifesting staying the same. And if that's what you want, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But if you feel like there should be more, like your life should be different, that you're happy maybe, but you know there's more out there, that's when these manifestation practices can be really helpful and become really important to you. Now, there's 2 types of manifestation that I like to talk about, which are active and passive manifestation. Passive manifestation is what we do every day with every action that we take, right? With every action that we take, that is an act of manifesting, and that's passive. You know, making your breakfast in the morning, waking up and brushing your teeth, like some of these things you do without even thinking about it, and that is passive manifestation. I'd love to do an episode on how to just slightly tweak your routines to make your passive manifesting so much more powerful and really work for you, but that's another day. Today, we are going to be talking about active manifestation. So the active practices that you can take to up-level into a different version of you, to improve your life, to change your circumstances. So this kind of formula, these steps that I'm about to share with you are what I've actually used for my manifestation processes. And this is a technique I have been perfecting for a while now and that I've used since the beginning of my manifestation kind of like journey. When I started, I was working a pretty toxic job that I'm not going to get into today, but I've kind of chatted about it in the 5th episode of the podcast, my Tower Moment episode. So I'll link that in the show notes if you want to go listen to that to hear a little bit about my circumstances before I really started to manifest. You can go listen to that first or afterwards if you would like. But I've used this to manifest when I was living in Canada, a new apartment that was like exactly pretty much what I wanted. A car, the exact car that I wanted. And that one was crazy because it's an older car, but I really liked the model and I knew it would be within my price range. And there were only 2 in Ontario, like in my province, which is a big province for those of you who don't know. And there was only 2 that I could find. And one of them was in my home city, like where my parents live. So I just went home and got it. So I used it to get that car. And then later on, when my partner was trying to get a job in Europe, I used this not only just to manifest our move and to like help that along, but to leave a 9-to-5 job and to just jump full on into my business. I used it to get the exact place we were looking for. So with my partner's job, we're given an apartment, so we don't really know what it looks like beforehand. So before we moved the first time, I said, I'm not expecting much, but here's the list of what I want. And literally every single thing checked off that list. And we were living in this building, and some things, like I said, I want a TV and a couch. And we were the only room in our building that had those things like come with the room. So that was really, really cool. Recently, I used this manifesting practice to help us to stay in Europe and to get an even nicer apartment. With the other one, I would say the only thing missing is a balcony, and now we have a balcony. And I've used it to manifest traveling for 2 months and just so much. But then I've also used it for non-physical things like improving my confidence and helping me to take different business steps and just the internal work of changing who I am and how I feel. I work out way more now, and it's literally because I decided to manifest being a person who works out regularly. So really, you can do anything with this. It's just about getting clear on what it is that you want. And without even meaning to, there's our segue into the formula. Because the very first step is clarity. And whenever I tell people this, I think it frustrates them a little bit. And they think, well, that's kind of boring. Like, that's not all that magical. I just need to get clear. Like, okay, how important is that? But arguably, this is one of the most important steps in the manifestation process is you need to get crystal clear, not just on like what it is that you want. I wouldn't say that's as important. Like, it is important to know what you want, but it's more important to know how you want to feel. I know in the past, I've said, get really clear on what it is that you want and like get really nitty gritty about the details. And yes, that's important. But really, when I'm saying to get really clear on what it is that you want, I'm talking about how you want to feel. And you should keep asking yourself why so that you can get to that root feeling. That's what the clarity is. So for example, you say, I want $1 million. Why? Because then I don't have to stress about money. And what feeling is that? To me, that feeling would be security. And why is it that you want security? Because I want to feel that I have the authority to do whatever it is that I want money-wise. And that I can move and uproot my life if I wanted to, or I can give back to my family. So really what I'm looking for is that personal feeling of financial freedom. And understanding what feeling you're chasing with these desires and with these manifestations that you are calling in is so important for 2 reasons. The first is you can ask yourself, if I had financial freedom, what would my life look like? And you'll actually be able to get even clearer on the physical things you want to call in, but also maybe some more feelings that you're chasing. Maybe you feel that you'll be able to be more luxurious because you'll be able to buy some more expensive things. And that will make you feel a new level of self-love. Like you'll be able to treat yourself more. So you'll start to find out more about this version of yourself that you want to step into and how they feel as a person, and you can start building to that. The second reason that this is so important is because by understanding that feeling and being really clear on what that root feeling is, that your next level self, that the version of you who has this manifestation already feels, that will allow you to start taking small steps, small changes, and smaller action towards becoming that person and towards having whatever it is that you're manifesting. And that right there takes us into our second step. So our first step is clarity and getting super clear on your manifestations and the feelings that they will bring, the feelings that you are chasing when you are calling them in. And step number 2 is taking action. Now, this is where my manifestation formula differs a little bit. A lot of people that I know put sitting in the vibe of what you want, like sitting in the energy of what you want, as the second step. But I put this later and I'll explain when we get to it. But I really think once you are clear, you need to immediately start taking small actions to act as if you are that person, or to start becoming closer and closer to that version of you that has this thing in their life, that has this manifestation already. So that's why this feeling is so important, because then you can start to match it. So for example, we were saying financial freedom. So if what you are really manifesting is more financial freedom, look at your life now and see, where in my life can I have just a little bit more financial freedom? Now, this acting as if doesn't mean you have to do anything crazy. It doesn't mean you have to go buy that Gucci handbag that's way above your budget. It doesn't mean that you have to start having total financial freedom and throw away your budget and throw away your planners. Not that extreme action is not what we mean when we're saying acting as if and taking small actions. It's just whatever you can to start to shift your vibe, to start to feel, even if it's just a centimeter closer, an inch closer to that person that you want to be, who has this manifestation you're calling in. Those are the actions you are going to take. So maybe it's allowing yourself to stretch your grocery budget by $10. Maybe it's looking at your budget and saying, okay, I'm allowed to have my nails done. I'm allowed to have this one more lavish self-care thing every month. It's just whatever you can start to do to shift the vibe. Maybe it's opening a new savings account to see that financial freedom start to stack up in there, even if you're only putting $10 in a month. You know, it's just starting to slightly shift and act as if. And then when you start to do this, take note on any pushback you feel, or fear, or stillness, or overwhelm, or you saying, I don't know if this is right, this is scary, because that is your limiting beliefs. That right there is going to show you why you feel that you can't have this manifestation, why you feel like it's not possible for you. Because if you thought it was totally possible for you, it'd be in your life right now, right? You would have these physical things you're calling in. You would feel this feeling already. So what is it that's stopping you? And that identification is our third step. You'll be able to really identify these limiting beliefs with where that pushback is. If it's, I can't be financially free because my job doesn't pay that much, I'll never be able to make enough. That's when you start to question, well, why do I think I'll never be able to make enough? Because it's just not the reality of my job. Or maybe your limiting belief is that you're not worthy. The work that you do isn't worthy. Maybe it's because the amount I want to get paid is like 1 in a million. No one gets paid that much. Or I'd have to work really, really hard, and that work-life balance just isn't possible for me. These are all limiting beliefs, right? These are all perceptions of reality that you are putting on yourself and on your dreams. You know, me having my own business and living in a foreign country and recording this podcast and doing all of that is not something, if you had told me 5 years ago, that I ever would have believed was even possible for me. Like, I would not have even been able to process this information because it would seem so far removed from who I believed I was then. So this is why it's important to be able to find these limiting beliefs and identify them so you can start to shift your mindset and therefore shift your reality. This is, I think, where that myth I was talking about earlier of manifestation is just thinking what you want into being comes from, because this is where you say when you shift your thoughts, you shift your reality, but they're action-based limiting beliefs, right? They're holding you back from taking a certain action, whether it's your confidence and inner world or something physical and asking for a raise or asking for a promotion. These are the limiting beliefs that are stopping any action from taking place because you just don't believe it's possible. And if you don't believe something's possible, you're never going to take action towards it. And it's so important that we understand why mindset work works and why limiting belief works actually will start to change your reality. And this is because your mind wants to prove you right. Scientifically speaking, our brains want to prove us right. And at every moment of every day, every waking moment, you are surrounded by so much stimuli, by all of your senses, that if your brain was to take in all of it, you would be petrified. You'd be frozen by overstimulation and too much information downloading within your system. So instead, our brain chooses what to intake and process. And because our brains want to prove us right, what it decides to actually process into the mind as evidence and information is going to be what we already believe. It's going to be trying to back up our personal beliefs. So therefore, if you're always thinking, it's impossible for someone to get paid X amount of dollars in my field, or I am not worthy of the amount of financial freedom I want to call in, or that lifestyle just isn't possible for me and therefore I can never get what I actually want. That's all that you are ever going to believe, because every time you see something, you hear something, you are given information that thought is correct, your brain will actually process that and store it in its little information file about your reality and what is to be believed. And every time you experience something against that, your brain will just put it in one ear and out the other. It's just going to throw it away, throw it in the trash, and say, that doesn't back up what we already believe, and therefore you can perceive it, you can acknowledge it, but down the road, if you go looking for that evidence, it's not going to come up. You're not going to remember it. It's not going to be embedded within the subconscious within your mind because it doesn't back up what you already believe. So the third step is to acknowledge these limiting beliefs and start to work through them, start to flip them. I'm not going to go into working through limiting beliefs in this episode today because we'd be here for 2 hours. We'd be here forever. This already feels like it's going to be kind of a long episode because there's so much intricacy and so much explanation that goes into manifesting practices that it's already going to be a long one. So limiting belief work would only add on top of that and we'd be here forever. So maybe I can do another episode on that down the road to really break that down and explain that for you. But that's the third belief, is to really start to flip the script, flip our beliefs and change our limiting beliefs and challenge them so that we can start to believe that we are capable of being the type of person who calls in our manifestations. So that you can say, I am the type of person to have insert manifestation here. And now this takes us into our fourth step. And this is the one I was talking about where a lot of people I follow, a lot of people that I know that talk about manifestation actually put this as their second step. And great for them. If it works for them, that is fine. It just doesn't work for me. And this is what I mean when I say, make your manifestation practices your own. You can go off a template of somebody else's, you can go off my formula, you can go off other people's, but you have to make it your own for it to actually work, actually work for your energy, because that's what manifestation is. It's all about energy. So this step is like sitting in the vibe, sitting in the feeling, aligning your vibration with what you want and what you are calling in. These last two steps are the more woo-woo steps, they are more of that like magic, that energy work, whereas the first 3 are very much based in mindset work, self-development, and action, which are a lot more tangible, which is a lot more believable. These last 2 are a lot more energetic and spiritual. So what sitting in the vibe really means is sitting down in like a meditative form, and you can do a guided meditation for this. I know a few people have those. I love the one by Georgie Stevenson. She just has a quick 5-minute one. I'll put it in the show notes below. I also have like an abundance manifesting meditation in my Mystic shop at springlunoracle.com that you can check out if you want to use that one. It can be used for abundance, but also just anything really manifesting wise. Another great one is like a quantum leap meditation, which a lot of people have. I also have a quantum leap one in the store as well. But I really like using a guided meditation because it helps keep me focused. But if you don't like to use guided meditation, you could just put on wordless music. You could just sit in silence. And basically what you're doing is sitting in the feeling of already having your manifestations in your life right now. Like someone handing it to you, just waking up and it's a natural part of your life. Like you are sitting in the energy of having what it is that you are calling in. And the reason we do this actually makes a lot of sense. Because think about when you were about to take a really big step in your life. Maybe you were moving away. Maybe you were starting school. Maybe you were starting a new relationship, taking a new step in your relationship, getting a new job. All of these things feel so scary. Like you are going to move away and it feels, even if you're excited and it's what you want, you're moving away and you feel so scared because you're like, this is what I want, but like, what if it doesn't work? It's big change. It's the unknown. So on a smaller scale, when we're calling in physical manifestations of items we want in our house, or even if we are calling in bigger things, sometimes you miss opportunities because you're too scared to take them, or you're so not comfortable in that energy that's so far above where you are that you don't even register that these opportunities are being given to you because they just feel so next level or uncomfortable or scary, or you just have a blind eye to them because it doesn't even seem possible. So getting used to sitting in this energy and getting used to this new thing that you're calling in is going to make it easier for you to say yes when opportunities come up. And you are more likely to put yourself in situations where you can start to get this thing that you're calling in or start to take action steps towards it because you are comfortable in the energy of what you're calling in. The best example of this would be like for a promotion. If you aren't comfortable in the idea of having and getting that promotion and being in that role, you are less likely to go knock on your boss's door and say, hey, I would like to talk about a raise or a promotion, or even apply for a certain position. You might say, oh, I'm not ready yet. I'll just wait a couple months when it comes up again, or something like that, because you are not comfortable in that energy. So this is why in my manifestation routine and in my manifestation formula, once I have worked through my limiting beliefs and I feel pretty strong about them, and I feel like I can move forwards without these limiting beliefs completely hindering, I start to sit in the vibe of calling it in. And I do this for minimum 5 minutes a day. If you skip a day, it's fine. It's not going to stop you from manifesting or anything like that. But it's just part of my routine. I like to sit in it for 5 minutes a day to get really comfortable with this energy on a day-to-day basis. And now some people put this as the second step, like I said, and that's because they're like, okay, you know what you want, now get comfortable in the energy of it. And that will show you where you don't think you have it, or why you don't think you can have it. But I don't like doing this. First of all, I think you should be taking action right from the get-go. Because first of all, if you're in the middle of taking the action, and it's really small even, and you feel pushback, you feel fear, you're halfway through. So you're probably going to continue with it. Whereas if you're just sitting in the energy and you don't believe that you're really capable of that energy or worthy of that energy, then all you're doing is for 5 minutes a day reaffirming to yourself, I am not worthy of this because of blank. and then you're not moving through it. Whereas if you're taking an action and you think to yourself, oh, am I worthy of this? But then you just finish the action and reap the rewards, that's going to help to shift that belief. So I like to start to shift my beliefs with actions and limiting belief work first, so that when I am sitting in the vibration, I feel a lot more truly and deeply that I deserve what I am calling in, and there's less pushback there. But like I said, if the other way works for you, that's totally fine. You have to make this your own. That's just why I do it this way, and that's what works for me. And so I thought I would just explain that because I know that I do it in a little bit of a different order than some other people that you may have heard talk about manifestation formulas before. And then finally, the last step, and arguably what should be the simplest step, but is oftentimes, and still to this day, even for me, the hardest step, is release and trust. This is releasing the control, having full faith and trust that your manifestation is coming to you, is on its way to you, is going to happen, and saying, okay, universe, I trust you. I've done my work of this co-creation. Now it's your turn. And sometimes you've done all the work you need, but because you don't trust that it's coming, you just keep taking more action and you're not allowing the space for this new manifestation to come in. So it's a big release. It's a big act of trust to stop worrying about how it's going to happen and saying, oh my gosh, I have to do this, this, and this, and just continue to show up as the type of person that has your manifestation in their life already, and trust that the universe is going to bring it to you, and not to stress on the hows and not to stress on if you're doing enough. Trusting in yourself that you are doing enough and trusting that it's coming. And if you get to this step and you feel like you still don't trust and nothing you can do will allow you to release and trust, maybe go back to the limiting belief and go through the process a little bit again to see, okay, what is it that I don't trust myself enough? Because if you trust yourself enough, you should trust the universe enough too. And the reason this step is the hardest is because you could have manifested a million different things into your life, and each time you manifest, there is a new level of trust that you are unlocking with the universe. I have changed my entire life with the help of manifestation, and I'm still actively working on that trust factor, because I think it's a never-ending journey. So just release, don't rush. Don't try and rush this process. Don't try and rush this feeling of trust, because part of trusting the universe is trusting that it is all coming in due time. It's all coming at the right time for you. So don't rush. Enjoy this manifestation process. Enjoy living in the present, because soon you'll look back on it with nostalgia and love for this version of you. So just lean into that trust and release. If you want a little bit more advice on working with the universe, I think it's episode 7 is You Can't Piss Off the Universe. I love that episode. It's been getting a lot of love recently. So if you haven't heard that one, it's also a really good one to help you really start to trust that the universe has your back no matter what, and it's never going to be spiteful or vengeful. But that's it. That's basically my formula, my 5-step formula. To go over it again, it's clarity, small action steps or acting as if, working through your limiting beliefs, sitting in the vibration, and then release to the universe and trust. I hope you enjoyed this really informative kind of manifestation breakdown episode. As I said, I know that a lot of people have been asking for just like a manifestation breakdown, so I hope you love it. It's my personal little secrets. If you've ever done one-to-one coaching with me, I've taken you through this multiple times because it works. It's worked for me. It's worked for so many of my clients, and that's it. It just works. So give it a try, make it your own, and start to see what happens. If you want a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra guidance and magic and push from me, no one knows this yet. This is my secret that I'll let you in on. But I am opening 3 spots for one-to-one coaching for the last ever kind of like round of life and spiritual coaching that I do right now. My template and kind of style of how I'm doing my one-to-one coaching is going to be changing come 2023. Come January, come the new year, my one-to-one portal of working with me is changing. So I am opening up 3 last spots to do the 3 months of one-to-one spiritual coaching where we meet for 2 hours every single week and chat about anything and everything spiritual and start to manifest your dream life. So this is the last time I'm ever going to be opening up this one-to-one portal in this way and at this like very low ticket price when it comes to one-to-one. So if this is something you're interested in, let me know. I haven't put this on my Instagram yet. I haven't put it anywhere. So just DM me. I came from the podcast or something if you want to snag one of these spots before they go public at the end of the month. So DM me if you're interested in snagging one of those spots. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Please share the podcast. I love to see what you guys are doing when you're listening to the podcast. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So please share on your stories what you're doing when you're listening to the podcast and let me know what you think. Share it with a friend or a family member that you think this could benefit and help. And thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this and I'll talk with you next week. Bye.